this is about all we're going to have for the board, so I will call the Irvington Architecture Review Board to order. And as we normally do, we will start with continuations, although we'll probably breeze right past it because I have no new materials on the continuation of ARB 19-24, 27 Hudson Ave. So I will go right past that, and we'll start on new matters. The first new matter we will hear is ARB 19-28, 40 Riverview Road, the addition.
Josepha. Hello, and I'm here for Christina Griffin Architect. And we are working. Do you need this?
Yeah.
We're working on 40 Riverview, which is an existing house that we are going to add extensions to, and we are going to turn it into a center hall colonial. The extension will be this entry, this second story here, and in the back, I'll show you, we're adding a bay and a little bump out. This is the bay that we're bumping out, and this is the little additional bump out, which will be in the mudroom. Basement plan, basically the same footprint. So you can see we're adding this bump here, so the foyer is more comfortable. We're adding a breakfast area, and this mudroom was pretty tight, keeping the garage, so we just gave a little bit of space to make it more comfortable. Yeah, the second story is new, right here, above the garage. So you can see the elevations. It's got a brick facade. The window clad is black. The doors and the garage doors are mahogany. Here I'll show you the stucco back here. The chimney is stucco and the basement is stucco, and in the back there's also a wraparound patio with stucco arches.
That's the bump out, breakfast stucco up top.
This is the breakfast bump out, and this is the mudroom bump out right here.
Any existing conditions photos or demo plans or existing conditions?
I think we have them from when we submitted to the planning board.
We like to see them, before and after.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's
Yeah, let me see. I think they're here. Sorry. I did not put those on for today. Existing conditions.
What's the present facade?
Oh, okay. The present facade. Unfortunately, this one photo didn't come in very clear, but it's right here. This is it.
Siding? Or, I'm sorry.
It looks like side, yeah, cedar.
So is the brick thin brick? Is it
No, it's going to be a full brick.
Is it full veneer?
Yeah.
Okay.
Full brick.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, yeah.
Actually, after we remove it, we bump it out and we break the hole.
I'm sorry that's so small for you. You want me to
No,
bring it over?
it's just trying to understand like what the actual addition is. It's not really clear in the drawings. That's why it's more clear now that you're explaining it. I'm just saying, like, without a demo plan,
I see.
like, I
Hard
don't know,
to-
you're going on top of the garage. It's obvious now, but like,
Yeah,
the
this is
plans
one
don't
story, the
necessarily
garage
follow.
right here, and this is where we are adding the entryway.
So the covered portion of the garage that's new too, that bump out, the like, or does it step back in the plan?
It's stepped back, the second story, the story doesn't come all the way up, stepped back from the first floor. Which one?
This one right here you're talking about?
Yeah, no, I'm saying that.
Yeah. So we're basically gonna go over this side of the garage and push it back a little bit to give it a little more curvy feel.
So it's black windows, white trim, stucco chimney, stucco bump outs.
And there's gonna be, this,
The roof is new as well.
the roof is new, yeah. And, limestone sills and apron.
Doesn't seem to be showing the sills. Looks like it's just
On the stone portion, like the surrounds casings, headers are limestone.
No, they're going to be Boral painted,
Okay, so
just
you
the
mean the
sill.
sill, you mean that
Just the,
trim cord?
just
Lower
the,
head,
just the
yeah.
lower.
Just the lower sill?
Just the
You were
sill.
pointing.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, right here. And it's more clear on the full elevations where it's pointed out.
It shows the elevation of the slide.
Mhm.
With the brick and eaves.
It's brick and eaves. No vent windows, no attic windows. No, it's not. Is there an attic? Occupied attic?
Yeah. You could hit a window on the side.
So we have a window here. We should probably put a window on the other side. We can do that.
So that, you're saying these are full bricks going all the way up to the peak?
That seems,
Yeah.
So what is the divider there into the gable? You have this trim, like,
Yeah, this
right
is
there.
AZAC.
Basically, a trim soffit around the perimeter, basically.
I guess when I looked at it, I was wondering why you didn't do like wood or some transition.
Break it up.
Mhm.
Because I've seen it done, I'm not an architect, but I've seen
Mhm.
brick all the way up. So
Yeah.
it's like a,
No, we did play with having different material up here, and this was just what we landed on. We felt like it looked more elegant.
And I think to have a center hall colonial, as you're noting here, like I would say that the entire pediment from that line up would be a different material. Like it wouldn't be brick all the way to the top. I'd rather eliminate that trim piece. It makes more sense for it to go all the way to the top if it's going to be brick. If it's going to be brick.
I see.
If not, if you're going to fill it in with AZAC or trim or something.
So you're saying if it's all brick, get rid of this?
Yeah,
And if you're gonna put
it's-
this, give us
Yeah,
different
it's a
material.
weird, it's a weird transition.
I could
And
talk
I'm
to
not sure if the
the
other
owner about
side.
that.
Yeah, maybe we can cut back like we discussed with Christine.
Yeah, we did discuss this.
It's just not, I don't think it's a traditional form to put
So
them.
maybe return it maybe a foot on the outside.
On the edge, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, we
To
did
just
discuss
do,
this, yeah.
Just return it and cut it back there on each side.
I think that actually makes more sense as brick as a finished material. If it's full brick, if it's, can I see this?
Yeah, full brick.
Can I see that?
it's full brick, it's Glengarry. And they've got it as a mix. My comment would be about the foundation and the stucco. So traditionally, you know what, I don't even want to say traditionally, but my expectation is that you've got this one piece of stone that's there.
This is this right here is a retaining wall.
Right,
Yeah.
so why wouldn't the retaining wall, as you would see, cover up the foundation?
Cover the foundation
Yeah.
throughout. So again, that was something that we toyed with, and then we decided to go with the stucco. This is just, I'll show you where it is. There's a few retaining walls because the site is so steep.
Or site retaining wall.
So here's your retaining wall, right here, and then beyond.
I was going to ask, is our drawing show the columns as stone too? I think you had a rogue hatch.
Yeah, we did have, no, it's not a rogue hatch, it's a rogue decision, a last minute change, yeah.
So the columns are now,
The
That's all
columns
stuck.
That's what
are
matches.
stucco to
Stucco.
match. You know, as you can see, the column, and this is something that the planning board required because of the steep slope and wanting to keep the land as close to what it is as possible, we had to cantilever these in, and so we decided to go with stucco because it would be quieter. It's kind of fading into the foundation more.
I don't know, what do you think about this chimney being stucco?
I think it looks a bit different.
It must be different.
I think I have an example, but do we have, is this stucco showing? Well, you know, this is one of our idea photos that we used, and this is much more grand. But this combination of the stucco, it's not a chimney, but this combination with the stucco and the brick is something the owner was interested in and we were looking at.
I think you just went right to my point, but that's okay.
Well, and we're not really aiming for this kind of,
Okay, then don't show it to me.
just the mixture of materials is what this is.
So they're using, it's a,
I think to some degree what Ken's probably getting at is that there's something nice about the thin stone retaining, and it'd be nice to see it happen again. And I would say, like, you have all that stucco starts to wash together.
I see.
This isn't like a,
Yeah.
I'm going to call it an opinion because it's not a classic colonial. It's not like, it's a mixed bag of stuff. It's like trying to just make something speak for all the things. And like, I can see the chimney as some alternate material other than stucco, like that thin brick, or not thin brick, that thin stone.
Pull the stone back in.
Something to speak to the other side of things. Because I just think it's a lot of stucco.
We have that one.
it's a huge improvement over the existing house.
That's true.
Yeah, and that's great, and trying colonial, that, obviously that's the owner's choice, and just being consistent with that language that we're speaking about. Oh, now I see it. That stucco infill in the garage, is that stucco?
Not the garage,
kitchen-
no.
No, above the garage, the kitchen bump.
Oh, this, the
Yeah.
mudroom bump, yeah, that's some stucco.
You see, that's where I would say it's wood. You know, it's a wood addition,
Agreed.
stucco, and doing wood, and as it was done in some places, as sort of a creative, similar to the bay window, it's a frame,
Like a panel or something.
paneled, yeah,
You know,
exactly.
I think it should speak to the bay. It should be of the bay material.
Yep.
I think that helps.
Yeah, the eave is just
Just be a
weird.
little softer at that point.
Yeah,
What the bay itself, is the bay painted to match the window and door casing? Or is it a color? Or?
Yeah, this is painted to match the trim. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's good. Panel.
and I would say the other thing that I noticed in those other pictures, and maybe it's that, I forget what that trim piece is that caps the top of the window, could be a little bit bigger. Just
Which
to,
piece are we talking about?
the trim at where the eaves start, the last piece, so you have trim
Uh-huh.
down,
Uh-huh.
just above the windows right now.
Across the vertical.
On the second,
Horizontal trim?
yeah, the horizontal
Right here.
trim.
Yeah, uh-huh.
Right there,
Mm-hmm.
could
You want it full-
could be a little more substantial, but it's,
Substantial?
I know this house isn't as big as it's starting to feel.
It's,
Yeah.
it's pretty modest size of the
Right,
house.
it's
yeah.
modest in terms of its scale. I'm sure these windows are 30-inch windows and not 3-foot windows. I'm getting the sense of the scale is maybe you don't want to get too full of yourself.
We talked about just a half notch coming back, just
Yeah.
a notch coming back,
Mhm.
in which case that trim would be gone.
Right, so
I
it wouldn't
think,
be,
I think that's up to you to decide,
Right.
but he's suggesting for it to be equitable to what you're doing for
Like you're doing over the bay window.
for the rest of it, yeah.
For the bay window, it's a much more substantial entablature that's running around.
okay.
And the same thing with the, whatever the kitchen, the pop-out piece.
This one here?
Yep, you see that trim there is much more substantial.
Mhm. Okay.
Anything else?
Could you go back to the front, please?
The first page, the title?
No,
Oh, the front elevation.
The color one's fine.
Maybe I'm missing something. You're talking only about having the brick on the front and then the rest wood, or brick all the way?
No, from the from that trim piece you were talking about up.
Yeah, the gable ends. Yep. Mhm. Yeah.
I would say scrap it with a return or make it larger and infill it with wood or AZAC or something that feels like what you're doing on the bay window or the mudroom bump out that speaks to that. Regarding like what I wanted to look at on the front was just what's happening with the front entry. The
Front entry is now over to the right, I think, right? Over to the left, rather. Was that the front entry?
That's it.
Is it?
Yep.
Yeah, it looked like that in the current picture. It looked like it was over left, more left.
in the
don't think they
he
were-
means the existing condition.
Oh, the existing,
Like the whole front door.
Yeah, so this piece is coming out 6 feet out. From here over, there's a bay window here right now. This is coming out, pulling out 6 feet
Now.
in this elevation.
but.
I think that's what I'm saying, like, looking at the old stuff, it doesn't make any sense. Like this, with the demo plan, it makes sense. Quickly looking at the demo plan made sense. What I was gonna say is similar thing to what's happening on the gable ends. Like the brick portion above your arch, like where
Right in here.
where your keystone is, and that piece, like that should be wood
Yeah.
up to the cap, or that archway should exist, like only up, like
Pull it out.
or pull it forward. There's something about seeing the brick in between the two that it shouldn't
Yeah.
occur above there. Like it looks like that doorway's holding up, and it's not.
Yeah.
It's-
So wait, now I'm getting curious. Do you have a section through that entrance?
Let's see if there's a section with the planning board. I know there's a section, but,
Okay, so now I'm asking, so where's the front door? Right there.
yeah.
Nope, right there, right? Where your finger's pointing.
Yeah.
It's popped out.
It is popped out.
That's what-
And
that's-
what's so is it as if it's like a porch addition or something like that? It's all wood? It's all wood. That whole piece is wood?
Yes, you bring the front door.
Okay,
And I,
okay, so okay, if you can go back to the elevation. What I was noticing was, again, the level of detail of the bay window. Yeah,
This way.
it doesn't look, in the section, it's not drawn correctly because you'd see much more trim on the return. Right, it just looks like a flat piece.
If you look at
Yeah,
the,
it actually pulls out.
yeah, you wanna see it?
and if you look at the elevation, it's more detailed than the one elevation.
On the side elevation.
Side elevation, well,
There you go.
here we go.
Okay.
You got a panel.
And that's one of the reasons why I'm saying it's gotta go all the way to the top. Right now,
From here to here.
the brick
Yeah.
facade is like
Shouldn't
18
be
inches
there.
back from the
Yeah.
face. So
Yeah.
Save yourself the trouble. I'd almost say run it right up to the arched,
The bottom of that.
the top of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Run it,
To the top.
Yeah, all the way to
or not, or, it's floating out there and you're.
I think she had that idea here, it just maybe didn't represent on the colored rendering.
Okay. And it doesn't have subdivided windows like all the other windows. Just when you start subdividing side doors, you might do that for the side lights. It might be in the main elevation, black and white. You can show the black and white
We're
elevation.
talking about right here?
Right there, there's some side lights.
But
This is
the
a
side.
panel.
No.
he
On
goes
the main
the other
elevation.
Front elevation.
In the drawing.
Oh, say.
No.
Ah, yes,
Okay.
Yeah, you're right.
yes.
Is the,
leaded glass, something, you know, that's where they would put all the value in it. You know, they'd have these carved arches brought in and detailed and columns, and that would be attached to the brick house. And that's the idea. It's in keeping with the colonial idea.
is that,
No, not,
the thing that I refer to as a keystone, is it keystone or a light?
It's a light.
It's a light, it's a hanging pendant.
It is. Of course, it's right in drawing.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry, I didn't catch that. I saw that it looked like part of the trim.
Yeah.
So I would, another recommendation, when we're done with this conversation, like any sort of exterior light needs to be, should bring in a spec, or like a cut if you know.
Well, I mean, we're clearly gonna come back, so, I do have,
We just, when you make the next presentation,
Yeah.
just include that in the package.
And from a quick glance, that's probably appropriate. Like, I'm just saying, like, so we're not gonna give you a hard time about it.
I mean, I actually haven't had a few that run through.
I'm just understanding, because it's one of the things we're gonna ask about. So,
Any questions?
the door's solid painted,
solid stain.
stained mahogany match the door.
Yeah. Anything else?
Oh, I'll add one more thing, sorry. Is it a gas fireplace?
No, it's a wood burn.
It's a wood burning fireplace. It's all existing.
Yeah.
You're just cladding it.
Yeah.
Is it really that skinny?
I don't think so. It's actually a little wider than that, I think.
Okay. Hey, the top part seems.
Yeah, that's right here.
very skinny.
Yeah.
I would say that it physically feels top heavy as well, like the cap and detail that you're adding to it.
That's right.
I would do something
A little more leaner.
at the top specifically if it is that skinny. If it just feels physically too skinny. Like I know we made a recommendation to make it stack stone or some other alternate material, that's for you to decide, but it just feels top heavy right now. I would take not the corbelling or whatever detailing you're suggesting there, but change it to something simpler. Like what's
Or
the,
maybe this needs to be a little thicker too.
like that's all made out of stucco? Is that
Oh, this is all brick up to this point. Oh, you're saying you finished?
You're talking about the chimney.
Yes, it's stucco, no?
Yeah.
It's stucco.
So that's what I'm saying, the trim that you're proposing there is like finished out stucco. Like, no, I'm just saying the actual material, it's not like painted or anything like that, it's out of stucco.
So,
I would look into doing like a much simpler top to it, or if you stay with stucco, like a very, very monolithic material, eliminate the detail at the top. If you go with stone, you can get away with something like that at the top. Like right now, it just looks like a stiff wind's gonna take the top of it off. Sorry.
It's good metaphor.
Anybody else? Okay, we'll be here in 2 weeks.
All right.
I would, whatever change you're gonna make, Ed will leave a week before we meet.
1 week.
Yeah.
So about a week, and then we'll be on the. Okay.
so basically you infill this and then fill this in back. Take away the stone and the chimney.
And then
Yeah,
here.
like so, we made a couple recommendations as to how to correct the ends, pick one or the other. Like stone or not stone, like look, everything we suggested is laws. Of course, you just take it back to yourself.
Good. Okay, thank you.
No, we'll just leave it open. Hey, don't forget your break.
Oh, okay.
Okay, move on to ARB 19-29, 37 Westwood Circle. Window replacement?
You guys want these sets? Do you want the extra?
name's Andrew Cleary. Hopefully this is, I don't think it's as involved as the last one, but
Wait, we love windows.
it's only 2 windows. And I've already,
You've been here before.
I've been here before, putting another window in. And I'm on the Architectural Review Board for Lower Field Point. I had to
So then I
recuse
don't-
myself for this.
I don't have to ask if Field Point's approved this already.
They have.
Okay, I believe, I,
Got it?
we know about it.
They're a tough group.
Yeah.
So the only reason I mention that is because they have a whole series of specs and guidelines that I had to comply with before. I've already had the contractor by Anderson Renew is going to be installing Anderson windows in keeping with the existing styles that exist throughout Field Point. The cladding is hardy board, AZAC trim, all in kind with what's in Field Point. In short, this is a photo of the existing condition, and I'm going to be putting a window down here and up here. And so you can see a before picture and after. This is the real rub. There's an existing storage space in here, so I'm making a new bedroom there. So the window has to be an egress window, so it has to be certain dimensions.
Right.
And, in height and width and height off the floor. This one down here is just to bring more light into the living room beyond. And you can already see how dark it is because it's northern exposure, so bringing more light in is a big boon to the living space inside. I think that's it.
Finish on the windows gonna be the same as what's there?
It has to be, yeah. The old windows are like Acorn windows. The place was built in the 80s, so they made it out of Lego blocks. I mean, they're horrible windows. So, there are very strict specifications for energy compliance that the new windows have to comply for, but the color is the
Right.
same. As closely as possible. And, it's going to match the window I put in a couple of years ago.
We're glad you brought the existing conditions, because this obviously only showed us where the new windows are gonna be, and we need to know, if the windows are replacing something, rather than just cutting a hole and putting another window. So it's just for the future, if you ever come in front of us again. We're like even in the last application, we're going to have to show us what's existing and what's proposed. Beyond that, I don't have any other questions. Anybody? Nope. Anybody? Nope. Okay.
Thanks.
Motion to approve?
So moved.
Second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah. Anybody not able to be here next month? What's that, the 8th? 22nd. Good. 22nd.
Nope, it's in the calendar.
Of course, I'll send out my normal email. And then, I don't have anything else. Mark, you have
Our
anything?
trustee liaison.
I was just thinking today, actually, back to the whole kit and caboodle about the stack of things. I was trying to remember the stack of paperwork that people have to submit, 18 copies.
PDF.
I remember I had asked Larry to set up a meeting with you and Ed and myself and maybe Pat to try to go through and get it worked out. Once and for all, it's never happened, so I guess I've got to follow up.
Right. There's, summertime's rough, but,
Well, this was a request made several times over the last 4 months, so I guess I'll follow up again.
okay.
So the only issue that I know of before you guys leave is just because, from what I know from Ed, it's that second meeting of the month that's the problem
Yeah.
for the ARB, for him to be able to get you updates.
Right.
So I don't know what that's going to require.
Well, according to him, what that requires is us having one meeting a month.
Yeah, and how do you feel about that?
This year, it really wouldn't have been an issue, I don't think. Last year, you'd have killed us. We had over 100, applications. This year, we're now in July and we have 30.
Well, I mean, you never know what.
Right, you never know what you're gonna get.
So that's the point. The other thing is, I don't know if getting Ed part-time help for 2 days to get it done before this meeting is what he needs.
That you have to ask him, I really don't know.
Right, because in other words, it might be possible to throw a little bit of money at it and have some part-time labor do it and get it done. Or,
We probably have to start earlier.
well, that's the other thing I was going to say. You probably have to start at 7 or 7:30.
A little bit of give and take would be, people have a lot less to print, which is not cheap to do. I think they tell you to spend $1,000 on printing.
But you can. Malone was in here to planning board, and the last set of prints were like $1,200 a set.
Well,
And if
he gave us a load last week.
Yeah.
And if you can save on the printing and everything, which is all good, maybe the fees go up to cover the cost of the additional help to get up the PDF. At least, I tell you, every other place I work in, it goes into a Dropbox, and
Well, there'd still be at least one hard copy
Yes,
at
one
each
set.
board meeting, but everything else would have to be up on the screen, or you'd have to have it on your laptop or your iPad. I mean, are you guys?
which is what we all do professionally.
Well, I hear the complaint I hear from people on another board, I won't say which board, is that it's a pain in the ass to go to a particular sheet. You gotta keep scrolling through shit to get to the.
That's not true.
That's not true, but
That shouldn't be an issue.
And the second, let me just finish. The second complaint is
I can hear you.
it's hard to see it. It's like,
Because they're looking at it, people fall into the habit of looking at it on their phones.
well, even on an iPad, but you could zoom the page up and look at a feature.
As long as somebody's using a current version of Adobe, yes, you can. Older versions, I'm
Well,
just
you
saying,
can't-
you'd be surprised.
You can't get people out of the dark ages. I mean, all you can do is assume that a certain level of technology within the last year or two, I'm sure that Adobe Viewer can zoom PDFs for years. At least on mobile devices, it's always been able to zoom. So, and the other thing is, there would be, Ed's talked about coming down with either letting you connect to the network and load the files off of the portal, or conversely, maybe that to me is a little bit of a pain in the ass. But if you can come down with a USB with everything that's ready to go, and you could just call them up by project
Right.
without having to go search for them on the through the portal.
On the
Well,
website.
even depending on the submission that we get in hand, it doesn't necessarily match what somebody brings to the table either way.
And that's part of what Ed is very concerned about.
That's why we don't want
It's having too many versions, because he needs to make sure there's only one version, so what he has is the current.
That's what I'm saying.
version.
He has to. The building department has to supply that USB stick, or you have to go to. He wants you to go to the portal. But to me, when you search,
The
it
portal
takes,
can be arduous.
it takes a long time. Not a long time, but it takes a few minutes. And if you were shifting between projects, that adds up. So it'd be far better to have it, or have a, on the file server, just have a dedicated directory of files for this night's meeting that
Right.
you could.
That they can place the day of.
Yeah,
Or a couple
exactly.
days before, whatever,
See, I think that's far preferable.
I have to say, there must be a high school student who would be, that's just what they do all day long.
I have to tell you that, although
I hate to say that term so well, but it's, maybe not as a high school student, but maybe it's a local person, whatever.
I know you would think that, but the problem isn't in the willingness of the students or the.
Yeah.
The problem is in the willingness of the various boards to give up things.
Well, I think for something like that to come into existence, what needs to happen is a digital requirement needs to be maintained on the front end of planning board before they even get here, to say that, like, even if it's hand-done drawings or other things of that nature, it needs to be submitted in a PDF of such size by such date.
Well, they are. Everything is submitted. Things can be submitted, right, electronically now.
Sure.
But everything that comes in on,
you see on paper is in electronic form.
and then, things are scanned in if they're not, but I think.
They're not, they're scanned in.
Except for,
If it's not for, well, if it doesn't have to go through planning board for permit or anything, it might be the first person that it, like for like a window change.
Yeah.
For example, like, that doesn't go through planning board.
But they're not also making 18 copies of it at that point.
Well, it starts, at the planning board is when it starts at the super chunky
Yeah.
cost.
It seems like you can get it down to about 5 copies if you do it, because you want one for the record, one for here.
Just for the record. There's 2 copies behind me of everything that we do. I have to
maybe
sign,
6
I have to sign both. But
Because-
that's because when it's signed, the applicant gets a copy and Ed keeps a copy, so.
So then the planning board, and I guess it required 2 for that. Do they have to sign on that?
You gotta remember, planning board also sends copies to the landscape architect and.
But they can get those copies.
Ed's keeping all that paper.
Yes.
You can get that copy. The architect and the engineer can get the PDFs and print them out themselves.
Wow, all you get now in most of the systems, which are larger, is a piece of paper that says you're approved. You're set, dated XYZ, with all the numbers on it and everything.
Yeah.
And then you can see a file, and what the notion then is that the file is kept online. You can go to the file if you have whatever.
Now, the other thing is that there's always been 2 public hard copies, one in the library and one at Village Hall. So you probably want to maintain those. Just,
Again, it's in a file server. And
no, you can't do that. You got to, for public records, you probably want to make at least, maybe cut it down to just at the library.
pretty sure we're headed that way. That's the way it must be.
I would think so.
So anyways, that's what I've been thinking about it. Every time I think about it, I get annoyed because it's not that hard of a problem. But it's just intransigence and unwillingness to kind of come up with a cooperative solution. Everyone wants it perfect.
Well, it's very easy to just keep telling people to pay for the paper, too, rather than kind of backtracking into a digital system.
Well, we are supposed to, the digital system that Ed's set up may not be perfect for everything, but he seems quite happy with it. It seems,
No, I meant for like outside parties as well, just for everybody to be.
I don't know. I don't have a problem with providing one public copy on paper, but that's, for the grandmothers and stuff that maybe in 10 years or 15 years, it won't matter. Everyone will have become.
Lived with the internet long enough that we won't have any paper left to do anything, so we'll have to use.
We're going to be planting trees for carbon sequestration, but we won't be cutting them
Growing
down.
iPads out of the ground instead.
So that's what the other one. Weather training.
Sorry.
I'm not happy about it, but. So where we're going.
But you guys could use either your own iPads or you could use that screen for a public presentation. The worst thing is someone has to go over to the computer and call up the particular page on the.
See that, the bucket back here?
Yeah.
It could drop a laptop in there with the zip drive in it, and all I have to do is connect it.
Yeah.
That's all.
See, it seems easy.
It is. Once you start putting all
I mean,
these.
that's why this agenda dated the same way with just a Dropbox with the same thing, and literally the PDFs in it. It seems like that's the file, like, because that was the file that was uploaded to the place that printed it, or that's uploaded to the e-portal online or whatever. And then, look, my office, be it tiny, exists on Dropbox, and it's on my iPad, it's on my computer, and if I log into that screen, you can see everything in my office, and just take whatever you want, and as long as someone knows the system for me, how I code my projects or how I title them, I can find everything everywhere.
But then you have those architects that only give you one sign-in for your project.
His office is so big, he's got systems inside of systems that he.
All on my phone.
Motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?